I mean, the biggest, boldest faced lies we've heard publicly, I have to say, in a long, long time. It was very, very just ambitious in its deceit level. So she, just to get the audience caught up, she actually testified before Congress this week. She's the head of the American Federations of Teachers Union. And she actually testified, we, the union, wanted to be in school. I've said that over and over again. Teachers wanted to be in school. They knew that in-school learning was important, but they needed it to be safe. We needed both teachers to be safe and kids to be safe, and went on from there. I mean, complete revisionist history. Now, before I get to the sound of the day, I'll tell you this. We did go back and just pulled a couple of examples. Here she was in July of 2020, looking at whether we'd be opening up anywhere in September. Betsy DeVos wanted schools to open. She was the education secretary, and Weingarten said, if Trump and DeVos want to create chaos and they will jeopardize reopening. She says, this is reckless, this is callous, this is cruel, the call to reopen the schools. Their recklessness scared people so much that now I fear a brain drain of people basically opting out of teaching. They don't want to jeopardize their families. Fast forward later in the pandemic. Maybe she saw the light when we had some months behind us. Nope. August of 2020, she said, huge, judge strikes down Florida's school reopening order. Celebratory. So glad won't be reopening schools in August. Let's fast forward for 6 months or so, February 2021. She claimed what she needed was just a bit more time to bring her rank and file along with her. Quote, I'm confident that we will overcome the fear, but it's not going to happen in 2.5 nanoseconds. This is February 2021. This is a year into the pandemic, and she still was saying we can't open. Now she wants us to believe she was behind reopening the whole time, which leads me to this extraordinary moment on CNN. I don't know if you've seen this today, but she went on CNN, and a senior political commentator, Scott Jennings, was sitting at the table with her and said what so many millions of Americans would have liked to say. Watch this.
Yeah, we don't know each other, but speaking on behalf of millions of American parents, I have 4 at home. I had to teach them at home. My wife had to teach them at home. I am stunned at what you have said this week about your claiming to have wanted to reopen schools. I think you'll find that most parents believe you were the tip of the spear of school closures. There are numerous statements you made over the summer of 20, scaring people to death about the possibility of opening schools. And I hear no remorse whatsoever about the generational damage that's been done to these kids. I have 2 kids with learning differences. Do you know how hard it is for them to learn at home and not in a classroom that was designed for them? And for you to sit in front of Congress and the American people and say, oh, I wanted to open them the whole time. I am shocked. I'm stunned. I'm stunned. And there are millions of parents who feel the exact same way.
I knew and understood the importance of reopening schools and the importance of making sure that people were safe. And poll after poll that we did of parents, and I spent a lot of time with parents, said that they basically understood and supported that we needed to do both. I'm really sorry.
You think parents wanted to keep the kids?
Nobody wanted
think
to.
Parents
Nobody wanted to keep kids at home.
It's insane. It's insane, Buck.
I call Randi Weingarten the chief education commissar, because her job has nothing to do with your kids and making sure your kids are educated. She is a part of the political apparatus of the Democrat Party, representing the adults in the teachers' unions who are a massive source of Democrat political power, both through donations and through the mobilization they do for voting. So Randi Weingarten is on this issue, and I don't like to get angry at people or individuals. I like to debate ideas. She's an insidious liar. She's a disgrace. The Biden White House and all the people around him who push for school closures, they did this because they could get away with it. And they did it for the adults who were either too paranoid and or too lazy to do their jobs when it was clear that, first of all, everybody was going to get COVID, and they should have figured that out pretty early on. That's a whole other conversation, because everyone did get COVID. But beyond that, including all the kids, none of the kids were prevented from getting COVID. This was completely insane. COVID wasn't a risk to children. But why was it that, the EMS and fire and my grocery store clerk, the guy who worked at CVS, they were all going into their jobs. They were going into their jobs in April and May of 2020. But for teachers, it was too dangerous. They really, by the way, to do this, part of it was the completely false proposition that they forwarded that like children were going to be spreaders. Turns out children actually really don't spread this to adults very readily at all. And there's so much misinformation all along
but
here.
Randi had special scientific knowledge, Buck. You may not have understood that. She went on in her testimony to say this. Listen to this. It's SOT 7.
We knew that remote education was not a substitute for opening schools, but we also knew that people had to be safe. And maybe it's because I live in New York City. I live near a hospital. Every other minute there was an ambulance. There was terror.
Oh, my God.
Our members were terrified. Others were terrified. And what we were simply looking for was clear scientific guidance. And when we couldn't get it, we did it ourselves.
They did it themselves, Buck. It was all the scary ambulances. Hello, I lived in New York for 17 years. You hear ambulances all the time, in part because they don't fight crime anymore. People are getting shot. It's not because they were running to get all the kids who got COVID in schools.
They wanted teachers to have a taxpayer-funded, long-term, longer than just the summer vacation, paid leave at home. That's all this was. This was just a straight-up power play. Randi Weingarten was 100% involved with the Biden administration in crafting, and little Fauci too. They all play this game. They push for something, and they go to the levers of power, and they push toward lockdowns. They push toward these crazy rules, and then they say, "Oh, I didn't do it. It was some other person who did it." No, especially with the teachers thing, by the way. We knew in the summer of 2020 that schools should be open. Sweden kept schools open, or had already opened schools. We had already looked at the data. You could see countries where that it was clearly no risk to children. And the adults, it's not like you have a lot of 75-year-olds who were teaching third grade, Megyn. Like, this was crazy. They never had any basis for this whatsoever, other than it was advantageous to Joe Biden in 2020 because of the climate of fear. They figured, keep everybody terrified. They'll vote for old man Biden in the basement, which is what they did. And then beyond that, they realized, we can just like play a Zoom lesson and stay at home and get our full pay and benefits and do nothing all the time. The teachers who say, the only people who are as bad in my mind in terms of the rank and file as the teachers who were so excited to stay home were the airline attendants who were so excited and threatened to kick everybody off the airline forever for letting the mask slip beneath their noses.
No, but no one was worse than the Chicago Teachers Union.
They don't care about your kids.
Remember them?
They don't. Of course.
We don't do teachers union stories without running this video. These are the people who are so desperate to reopen the schools. Remember their interpretive dance showing us how these totally fit and able-bodied teachers couldn't possibly go back into the classroom. Cue it up.
Make it make sense. Safety is essential.
Oh my God.
Keep our students and our teachers safe.
These women are in their 30s. These are the people who were desperate to reopen. And by the way, on Randi's lies, Buck, we all know that the reason that the CDC modified its guidance on when you could open or close schools was because of Randi. She admitted that she was BFFs with Rochelle Walensky, that other hysteric who was running the CDC. Here's SOT 9.
Do not talk to representatives of the government.
Do you have a direct number to Director Walensky?
Do I have Director Walensky's direct number?
Yes.
Yes, I have Director Walensky's direct number.
Well, hopefully she'll give it to me too. Thank you. And I yield back.
Yeah, we get it.
What they did to children with the lockdowns, the shutdowns of the schools, obviously, as part of that, the masking of children, it was child abuse. It was monstrous. This became highly partisan. We know this because there were Republicans, and I'm here in Florida. I moved to Florida. God bless Ron DeSantis. He looked at the data. The data was very clear that schools should be open, and the data was clear really by May of 2020. You could argue even sooner than that, but there was absolutely no basis. They kept the schools shut for, the 2020 to 2021 school year, and then some of them kept it. We're trying to close it even beyond that. So what you see here, and this is also, it's enraging because I know parents that have special needs kids who are the ones who are the most harmed by this, parents of children, who are low-income households, the people that the teachers, by the way, I've sat on, I've seen Randi Weingarten before, and, years ago, I interviewed about something. It's always about the children. She doesn't give squat about the children, okay?
No.
She's a Democrat hack. The teachers' unions, honestly, should all be disbanded.
Let's talk about anxiety. Chances are you, like most of us, have experienced anxiety at one point in your life. If you have, you know it's no fun. Well, did you know that our dogs can experience anxiety too? That's right, anxiety in dogs is actually much more common than you may think. Luckily, though, there is help. The escape-proof high anxiety dog crate by Impact Dog Crate is the first of a kind dog crate designed specifically for dogs suffering from anxiety. Constructed from heavy-duty aluminum, this crate is built to provide the maximum amount of protection for your anxious pup. I know what you may be thinking. Wouldn't a crate make my dog's anxiety worse? The answer is no. Dogs enjoy having a safe and secure space like a den where they can go and relax and de-stress and not be bothered by anybody, whether it's a kid or you or another dog. I can speak to this personally. I see my dogs go in their crates all the time. We leave the doors open. You're like, where's Thunder? Where's Strud? They're asleep in their crate with the door open. They could be anywhere, but they choose to go in there. The high anxiety dog crate provides just that, and it's even backed up with a 10-year dog damage warranty. Thanks to Impact Dog Crates, dog owners have peace of mind knowing their beloved pups and home are safe. It's a win-win. Go to impactdogcrates.com and enter the code MK to get 15% off your crate. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.